are the nominees for Player's Voice.
Genshin Impact.
Genshin Impact.
Genshin Impact.
Genshin Impact.
I love Genshin Impact.
And I also hecking love Genshin Impact.
I love Genshin Impact.
Poor business decisions, censorship of opinions, review bombing, even attacking third parties.
I've never seen a community like this.
Stop writing this nonsense and get busy with important things.
But if you do that in this game, people just get so upset and so salty.
I looked real close. I didn't see a single one with tan or dark skin at all.
I'm rapidly losing faith, and honestly, miHoYo, you need to say something now.
Hey, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. My name is E, as in like essayist, because today I have awoken my bachelor's degree to give you this video, thus called Ranking Genshin Impact's Biggest Controversies. I have cultivated a collection of the strangest, messiest, and most devastating incidents from Genshin Impact's past and present, and today we will be ranking them based on their severity. Now, most of the incidents that I researched for today's video are by and large of zero real-world consequence, okay? It's a video game, it's not that deep. But there are some topics that we'll be discussing that are that deep and are actually very serious, and they will be discussed and handled accordingly. When approaching these topics, I will be giving any trigger warnings that they may call for. I have formatted this video to try and make this a very lighthearted discussion by making this into a tier list, but that is also in no way, shape, or form to demean or diminish the topics that we will be discussing. Please make sure to comment your thoughts and opinions on any of the topics we'll be discussing today. This is an open discussion, of course, and also leave a like, please. Please leave a like. Hey, click it. Thanks. And also subscribe for your edit. I mean, you're already down there, so might as well. Also, hi, how are you? New hair. How are we feeling about her? She's cute, right? Okay. Time to get serious, kind of. And as always, for any good tier list video, we will be discussing the tiers first. First up, we've got silly goofy mood. Topics that fall under this category will be decisions or mistakes that Hoyoverse has made that they had to apologize for or backtrack on. These could be seen as Hoyoverse saying,
I'm sorry. I'm just in a silly, goofy mood.
Then we have My Hero Academia fandom. Now, I love My Hero Academia, and I also love the fandom, but it has unfortunately become infamously synonymous with the word cringe. Now, do I agree with the word cringe in its usage? Not really. But for comparison's sake, this is a category for when the Genshin Impact fandom could be comparable to the MHA fandom. Takes one to know one, I guess. Then we got People Are Dying, Kim. This category is for events that happen that are just kind of ridiculous. On a scale of real-world consequences to a diamond earring in the ocean, this is the diamond earring in the ocean.
Diamond earring came off in the ocean and it's gone. And there's people that are dying.
Next up is taking accountability. This is one for big mess ups that Hoyoverse has made that they should be held accountable for. This category is a bit more serious than its predecessors, and the topics within will be discussed openly and without bias. And last but not least, we have not funny. These are for events that are of real-world consequence and that I would like to handle in a very respectful way. These events should be talked about and acknowledged so to prevent them from happening again. I will be giving trigger warnings for these ones. Now, before we begin everything, I must remind you, I'm a huge Genshin Impact fan, okay? It makes up like 69% of my personality, as you can obviously tell. By saying how much I love Genshin Impact, I also think it's healthy to discuss the flaws that are going to be inherent in any source of media, especially something as huge and global as Genshin Impact. And because I love Genshin Impact so much, I want it to be great and I want it to be better. Everything that I'm saying today comes from a place of love and adoration. Now, with all the tiers being explained, let's get right into it. So the first controversy that we will be tackling today is that of Eula Lawrence. When Eula first released an update 1.5 in 2021, Genshin Impact fans were pretty upset with her backstory. If you don't know, Eula is part of the Lawrence clan, which was once part of the ruling aristocracy that reigned over Mondstadt when it was not the city of freedom that we know and love today. During Mondstadt's aristocracy, the nation was corrupt and undoubtedly evil, with the Lawrence clan having a history of owning slaves. What? As it had owned Vanessa's clan, who were slaves at that time. In the webtoon, we see Vanessa having to fight her oppressors and bring Mondstadt to freedom with the help of the god Baizhu. But fans were upset with the fact that slavery was even included in the game to begin with. But as Eula's character was released and more was learned about her, we see how her lineage is far from being celebrated. In the present day, the Lawrence clan and its bloodline is viewed with disdain and pure hatred, with Eula herself being treated very poorly. Eula actually joins the Knights of Favonius to distance herself from the ideals of her family, and by doing so also has her family alienate her. Eula's character is a very complex one, and it's always refreshing to see what is at first glance a fun gacha game with hot anime characters tackle such real world heavy topics. I for one don't shy away from topics such as this, as it is often through storytelling that we are taught right from wrong. The Lawrence clan is viewed hatefully and with disdain for its past, as it should, but it also begs the question if people like Eula should be forgiven for her family's past wrongdoings. So for the outcry that the fandom had over a piece of storytelling that is actually very poignant, this controversy is going into MHA fandom. Don't be cringe, guys, okay? Just be informed, you know? Next up is account security. This instance and some others that I will be covering was a part of the Genshin Impact boycott that happened just 6 months after the game's release. Fans called for Hoyoverse, which was then known as Mohoyo, to enable a two-factor authentication system for their Genshin accounts because many people were experiencing losing those accounts to hackers. A Reddit page called Genshin Hacked was formed with over 3,000 members, all of which experienced having their accounts getting hacked. As you may already know, some Genshin accounts can be worth like thousands of dollars in terms of like characters, constellations, stats, equipment, weapons, and so on and so forth. They could be like really, really expensive. One user posted video evidence of a Hoyo staff's response to their hacked account, stating basically like, I see you, I hear you, but I'm not gonna do it. This video got 22,000 upvotes on Reddit. Hoyoverse didn't outright respond to my knowledge, but miraculously in May of 2021, two-factor authentication was added when signing into your Genshin account on another device. This instance here is going to be going into the taking accountability section. This was a serious issue and Hoyoverse needed to address it, which they ended up doing. Next, we're gonna be talking about broken kits. Zhongli's broken kit, to be specific. Now, I don't mean broken kit as in like, oh, broken, he's so cracked, he's so good. I mean it in the bad way. I mean it in the derogatory sense. So when Zhongli was first released, all hell broke loose. He was the first 5-star Geo character to be released in the game. And well, in professional terms, he sucked ass. He was supposed to be the Geo Archon, planet bringing, rock crushing, pussy popping. Also, he is the god of Liyue, a region heavily inspired by China, and Hoyoverse is a Chinese company, so he had to represent, which he didn't at all. His damage and overall kit was so ass until he was C6'd, or if you don't know, having all of his constellations maxed out, getting 7 copies of him. According to GamerRant's Brittany Finley, it can cost up to $325 to just guarantee 1 copy of a 5-star. And this is if you lose your 50-50 and you have to be pushed all the way to 180 pulls, which is like the worst luck ever. So $325 to guarantee 1. Imagine that 7 times over to get him to C6. They later rolled back this ass decision and actually buffed Zhongli so he was actually usable. This is going into silly goofy mood, cause Hoyo, girl, what were you thinking? Next up is Kokomi and her kit as well. Kokomi's kit and performance issue is one of the many facts in the Genshin Anniversary Armageddon debate that is different from the boycott, by the way, which we will be getting into more later in this video, so just keep that in mind. When Kokomi was released, she probably had the worst performing banner sales of all time at that time. Leaks came out before she officially did. More about leaks later. These leaks detailed her kit and her lack of performance. People were super outraged and canceled Kokomi before she even debuted. Like, let the girl breathe, god damn. They called her the same as Barbara, just another hydro healer who wasn't niche or special enough to be a limited 5-star character or to waste your money or primos on. People were mad because she wasn't some big shot DPS. When she was actually released and adequately studied and examined, she turned out to be one of the best hydro units in the game. And people now adore her. MHA fandom, y'all. MHA fandom. Embarrassing. Next up is the Lolly files. Okay, so this one was a rumor, okay? A rumor. Sorry, my eye's twitching, that's crazy. So a rumor started circulating on TikTok around April 2021 that the devs used the term lolly in their game files when labeling characters such as Klee, Diona, Sayu, etc. Everyone was pretty weirded and grossed out that this happened based on our previous understanding of the word lolly and its negative connotations. I remember when I heard about this rumor, I was super grossed out because I only heard the word lolly in like a really bad way. But after doing some research for this video, apparently at its core, the word lolly is used often in Japanese anime to simply describe a young girl. So inherently using the word, from my understanding and research, it isn't problematic. It's just like saying 5-year-old girl or little girl. So even if the devs did use this term when labeling their young girl files, then I don't see this as inherently problematic. But if we step back and see how the only people that have this body type are girls, then it's a little bit like, hey, why? But in reference to the rumor that they use lolly in their game files, this controversy is going into people are dying, Kim. I just don't think this is a battle that we need to fight. Next up is the Sonic vs. Genshin Impact fandom debacle. This one is actually so funny, and I had the pleasure of experiencing it firsthand myself. This is a relatively recent event that happened at the end of 2022 at the Game Awards. So Genshin Impact was nominated for the Player's Choice Award, where we, the people, exercise our right to vote for what we think is the best game. This is different from the Game of the Year award, which is decided by a panel of esteemed people, I guess. So after several rounds of voting, it was between Genshin and Sonic Frontiers. Now this is when the war started. So both sides were neck and neck in the polls, and each side were accusing the other of buying bots to vote. Sonic made slander memes about Genshin players, which turned kind of racist and gross for a second there. There was art of Paimon and Sonic beating the ever-loving out of each other. And then the Sonic fandom accused us of being bought off by Hoyo with primos, which is like so funny. Like Hoyoverse would ever spare a single primo, and it was pure chaos. Some actual harassment happened with, of course, a few people taking it way too far, which ruins everything, but that always happens, so that sucked. But apart from that, it was honestly very funny to see. Just two fandoms of sweaty, gross nerds duking it out in the parking lot. Oh my god, entertainment. That's cinema. That's cinema. And at the end, Genshin did come out victorious and won the Player's Choice Award. Sorry, Sonic fans, hot anime women and men will always win in the end. Okay, so this one is going into MHA fandom. This is so silly. You guys are so silly. Okay, next up is the concept of leaks in general. Do you like the picture I chose? It's a leak. Get it? It's a leak. It's a faucet leak. Do you get it? Okay, now, legally speaking, don't look for leaks. Don't talk about them. Leaks are the result of people breaching their contract when it comes to intellectual creative property that Hoyoverse owns. Or at least I think that's the fancy Fontaine lawyer way of saying it. That being said, like any other crime, they exist, no matter how illegal they are, and they unfortunately influence people's decisions and whether or not they're gonna save for a certain character, or if they, I don't know, wanna continue playing the game. Now, allegedly, some have alleged, hypothetically, allegedly, theoretically speaking, allegedly, Hoyoverse lets these leaks happen. Allegedly! Now, the reason why people allege this is to allegedly keep the fandom involved and or anticipating stuff before any official announcements are made. People say this because for big things, like Scaramouche's redesign, nobody saw even a morsel or a crumb of that man's redesign. It was locked behind iron doors. And when the Fatui trailer dropped, nobody heard about it, nobody knew about it, it just came out of nowhere. There was no leaks to happen. But when it comes to big up and coming things like the entire Sumeru cast or the entirety of the Fontaine cast, Leakageddon happens, which honestly kind of happened recently, where like everything about Fontaine and the characters were kind of leaked, and even early concept art designs for previous Genshin Impact characters were released. I mean, hell, even a picture of Hoyoverse's meeting room was leaked. Like, nothing was safe. I mean, this of course caused like a lot of hype for Fontaine, and also earlier with the Sumeru leak as well. People were excited for the Sumeru characters. But also, I never saw any of these. I just found this out through my research because I am what? A student of the academia, first and foremost. Hey, me and Nahida? Like this. Besties. Also, some people online will pretend to have sensitive information and just leak just to leak so they could have some sort of clout on the internet. But really, they're just spreading misinformation and just causing a lot of havoc, so you have to be careful with what you digest online. So I think the concept of leaks in general is going to go into silly goofy mood because they're just silly. Next up is the crimes against Hoyoverse for being a Breath of the Wild ripoff. I mean, okay. You know, like, okay. Because they're both open world and there's green stuff and some other mechanics, I guess. I probably was subconsciously influenced by Breath of the Wild, but like, who cares? Just be happy we're getting more open world games, and also Genshin in and of itself was very innovative for being so accessible on so many platforms and for combining the open world aesthetic with, you know, gacha character. Like, honestly, like, it's really paving the way for a lot of other video games. I don't know if you know this, but nothing is new anymore, okay? Everything nowadays is being influenced and inspired by those before us. I really don't think this should be such a big deal. Is it actually? Also, if I didn't have this game, I'd still be in my My Hero Academia phase, okay? So let's just be grateful. Also, don't say that that doesn't surprise you, okay? Rude. Anyways, so this category is going into people are dying Kim. I don't care. I don't care. Now, next up is a little bit heavier of a topic. We're going to be talking about Sumeru. As we know, Genshin has a habit of combining inspiration from real-life cultures when making and creating the different regions of Teyvat. For example, Mondstadt is loosely based off of Germany with other European influences. Liyue is based off of China. Inazuma, Japan. And now with Fontaine coming out, it's literally coming out today, the day that I'm filming this, it's primarily influenced by French, England, and maybe some other European cultures. Now, Sumeru comes into the discussion because it is based on a modge podge of varying different cultures, primarily stemming from South Asia, Northern Africa, and the Middle East. Now, I don't think I need to tell you this, but brown people exist in these regions, and the darkest complexions we get from characters stemming from Sumeru are these guys right here. Our beloved Sino, Dehya, and Kaveh. Now, that's kind of bad. Fans were unsurprisingly very upset. In addition to some elements like Dory's outfit had been described by some as embarrassingly stereotypical, and fans were upset with Nilou's belly dancer outfit. Now, others who actually belong to the cultures that were being represented in these characters were very happy to see themselves represented. Some people online noted how happy it made them to see Nilou's dance and her attire, even though it was more revealing than it should be, but that was, due to the game's aesthetics. But they were stoked to see themselves in their favorite games, and they were saddened that these characters were being bashed the most for their seemingly racist portrayal. So it was actually hard at the time to hear from the voices of people who were actually being represented, since a lot of the hate was coming from people who did not originate from these cultures. I am not originally from any of the cultures that Sumeru represents, so my opinion on the matter does not mean so in these situations, we should actually listen to the people being represented here and not shout over them. But that aside, I will say the biggest issue that Sumeru really brought into all of the forefront of all of our minds' discussion was colorism. Colorism in the game has reared its ugly head several times before, but this was the biggest showcase of it. There's basically just no variance of skin tones in this game, and that is just a fact. I think it's healthy to call this out and to hold Hoyo accountable. I love this game so much. I want it to be better and more inclusive. Also, to all of you saying, well, they're in the rainforest, so the sun doesn't tan them very often. Sorry, hi, brown people don't work like that. That's crazy that you would say that. I recognize this might cause a little bit of havoc in the comment section, which is so crazy that it actually would. But again, I love this game so much. It means so much to me. So this is coming from a place of love and wanting it to just do better. Representation matters more than you realize. After all of that, of course, the controversy of Sumeru will be going into taking accountability. I hope Hoyo learns from this mistake and makes some changes in the future for future characters. Okay, next up is homosexuality. When our favorite acting grand sage Alhaitham was released, his idol was leaked online. This idol was the one where he takes out a pair of keys and looking at them with what was at first described as fondness and then putting them away. Those keys, of course, belonging to his roommate Kaveh, who is, hey, a dude, and they were roommates. So when these leaks leaked, some fans were very upset and started the hashtag save Alhaitham. Amongst these complaints were also complaints of his skill design and kit issues and, well, how gay the dude was. From the now infamous tweet, one user stated their demands saying, the standby action is not consistent with the character's personality, and there are heavy traces of homosexuality. Please consider the feelings of other players. They said the dude is too gay, please nerf him now. Some of these players were Alhaitham simps and like to imagine themselves romantically with Alhaitham, which is so funny. Like, tell me you hate yourself without telling me you hate yourself. And they thought that his affection towards a dude would ruin that whole illusion and fantasy for them. I really hate to break this to you if you are homophobic, but you're playing a gay game. Sorry, you literally are. I have had to grow up in fandoms where I had to dig for a morsel of queer representation. So I know what it's like when a fandom overreaches for some kind of queer explanation for characters. That's just not the case for Genshin. One does not have to dig in Genshin Impact. You don't even have to read in between the lines. You just gotta read the lines. Kaveh and Alhaitham's relationship is very heavily implied to be romantic. So is Beidou and Ningguang's, Yai and A, Tomo and Kazuha, Toma and Ayato. I mean, Toma got his vision for being violently, concerningly gay. Like, be so for real right now. This isn't the time for me to prove the gay, but if you are interested, comment down below if you would like to see a whole video where I do a deep dive into all of the nuances and the queer coding that is present. I would love to do that. Are you kidding? I would love to do that. So please let me know. I would love to do that, okay? So for the outcry that people had over Alhaitham and his gay ass, that's going into MHA fandom. Like, stop being homophobic. Next up, we're going to be talking about Genshin Impact voice actors. So one of the things that I love about the Genshin Impact community is how involved the VAs are. From streaming on Twitch to participating in cons and being really active on Twitter. I see you, Koi Dao. Hi, you're so famous. And engaging with the fan base in all these ways. I think our voice actors are very, very cool. They don't have to do this, and they do anyway, which is really cool of them. But of course, if you are so involved in a community, it can have its ups and downs, right? Genshin VAs have been known to be attacked for things that are completely out of their control and that they didn't do. For example, during the 2.1 livestream, the English VAs were acting as a sort of panel to discuss everything that was new for the update. They got a lot of hate from the fan base for pretending to be excited or forcing excitement. Like, what do you want from them? Oh my god. At a later time, Kokomi's Chinese VA, Guin Yang, I'm definitely saying her name wrong, I'm so sorry, had to restrict her live stream when fans were being hateful towards her over Kokomi's kit. This was during the whole Kokomi thing that I mentioned earlier. Also, Sucrose's English VA, Valeria Rodriguez, got hate for mistakenly saying she shipped Kale and Sucrose. Her bad, dude. I mean, if you're not like really into the lore of everything, if you just look at the models of Kale's model and Sucrose's model, you're not gonna know that there's an obvious age difference that is present in the lore. So her bad. For cases like this, we should just inform rather than like attack. Sino's VA, Alejandro Saib, hey, sorry, he's married, recently tweeted how people can ship what they want as long as it isn't diluc or incestuous. And people were hating on him as if he said, I hate poor people. Hi, hey, why are you mad? What? We have to remember that voice actors are people with jobs and are 9 out of 10 times aren't very deeply involved in the project they work on, so they know every ounce of the lore that goes into it, and they 100% have zero control over any creative decisions. We've been so spoiled with our Genshin voice actors because they are so involved and they're so wonderful and lovely, so I really hope that none of these events have discouraged them from the fandom. So in relation to the topic of how voice actors are often treated, this is going into MHA fandom. Y'all are embarrassing me. Yeah. Okay, next up is the boycott. I know we were looking forward to this one. The infamous Genshin boycott, which is not to be confused with the Genshin Anniversary. We're gonna cover that later. The boycott happened just 6 months after the game was released, as I said earlier. I talked a little bit about the individual events that make up the boycott, but now I'm gonna be talking about it overall, holistically. The boycott trended with hashtags such as hashtag boycott Genshin Impact, which eventually turned into hashtag do better Mihoyo. Again, this was during the time when Hoyoverse was known as Mihoyo. The hacked accounts that we covered earlier was a facet of the movement, as well as a fight on Hoyo's seemingly colorist viewpoints on Kaeya and Shinyan at that time. If you don't know, at that time, Kaeya was often described as exotic, and Shinyan was described as scary. Additionally, a video touring Hoyoverse's office at that time showed an animator using a video of a Native American performing in a traditional dance as a reference on how to animate the Hilichurl's dancing animation. Additionally, at the time, there was a really weird relationship with the child NPC Flora and the man NPC Ulfer in Mondstadt. At that time, Ulfer had romantic voice lines about Flora, who is a child. Apparently, Flora's original model before release was that of an adult, but they changed it last minute and forgot to change Ulfer's lines. Whoopsies. All this culminated in the Genshin boycott, which calmed down after a bit and everyone kind of like forgot about it. I don't think any boycotting actually happened. So after all of that, the boycott is going to taking accountability. Hoyoverse apologized and fixed some things, but didn't fix others. Okay, this is the part of the video where we're going to be talking about a very sensitive topic. We're going to be talking about Tigniti's original voice actor, Elliot Gendy. This one is very serious and actually one that I hesitated from even including in this video. This isn't for entertainment and it's not for This is a real thing that happened with real victims. I did think though that it would be wrong for me not to include it, because if you are new to Genshin or new to the fandom, this is part of Genshin Impact's past, and we should acknowledge it and not pretend it didn't happen so that this doesn't happen again. Sweeping this under the rug would fail to warn any future victims that might occur. So, trigger warnings for the next section of the video: sexual harassment, abuse, and manipulation. Okay, go to this timestamp right here if you want to skip this section. I totally understand if you do. Just take care of yourself, okay, and be safe. Thank you. I'll give you a second. Now let's continue. So the first English voice actor for Tignity was a man named Elliot Gindy. He abused his power of being the voice behind many people's favorite character as a way to harass and abuse them. We do not have to go into specifics, nor do I really want to, but many of these victims were minors, and some struggled with mental illness. In screenshots and evidence that rolled out after the victims came forward, Gindy admitted in these screenshots that he targeted these individuals specifically because their mental illness made them easier to manipulate. It's all very disgusting, and Gindy never admitted to anything. The English voice actor community and the fandom sided with the victims immediately, calling for his termination of Tignity's role as soon as humanly possible. Within days, thank goodness, Hoyoverse responded with a statement calling for an immediate recasting for all voice lines to be re-recorded. Gindy was fired, and his victims are getting the support they need. Now, Zachary Gordon, our new voice actor for Tignity, was welcomed with open arms, and he is absolutely fantastic. So, of course, for this is going into not funny. I wanted to cover this again so that we can acknowledge it happened, and for anyone who may or may not find themselves in a similar position in the future, they know what to look out for. You know, this happens. And to remind you that no matter how involved or nice these voice actors are, and this goes for your favorite YouTuber, streamer, content creator, whatever, these people are not your friends, okay? They should not be abusing their power to get things out of you, or to be talking with you and abusing their power dynamics against you. If you ever feel uncomfortable with anyone online, no matter how much you idolize them or how strong that parasocial relationship is, girl, you need to contact someone in your life who you know and you feel safe with and inform them about the situation. It's so scary to be on the internet, so just be careful and take care of yourself. Heavy topic is now over. Hey, we're back. Next up, we'll be talking about resin. Woo! This next one is an oldie, okay? So at the beginning of the game, Genshin's resin system was capped at like 120, and everyone wanted to play the game more and use the resin given to them to actually, I don't know, play the game and actually level their characters up quicker. People were really angry with this, and Hoyo eventually changed it from 120 to 160. Like, wow. Thanks, girl. But I will say my theory, the reason why Genshin does this is so that we can actually like go outside and be human beings and not play the game too much. But that's just a theory. A game theory, okay. But regardless of some of our questionable playing habits, this is going in a silly goofy mood, because I don't know what they were thinking, honestly. Next up is dehya. Okay, I'll be real. A meta player, I am not. So I still fully don't understand how any of the characters work in the way that they do, okay? My brain is not hardwired to understand this, but it is hardwired to understand ancient Greek, okay? Without having to go into any specifics as to why dehya is bad, because I still don't know exactly why. I'll just say that when she was released and then put on the standard banner, people were pissed. Hashtag fix dehya campaigns were everywhere. If Hoyoverse tweeted something and you scroll down into the replies, you'd see the hashtag fix dehya graphic posted like all over the place. People thought she was trash and unfixable. The biggest complaint is her ultimate having the ability to like time out when you jump. Then people realize that it doesn't seem like it. It's just a super long burst that can be canceled, I guess. I don't know. People still think she's trash, and as far as I know, there hasn't been any buffs to her since. So if you see her and you lose your 50-50 to her, say hey. Dehya and her silly kit is going into a silly goofy mood, because again, what? And last but certainly not least, and our big grand finale is of course the Genshin Impact Anniversary Armageddon, the biggest tea spill of them all. I admit I was not here to witness this one, but I really wish I was. Okay, so let's set the scene. Genshin Impact made an explosive first year on its debut, okay? It was breaking records, getting awards. It was truly that girl. According to Redditor Tremera, shout out to you, the downhill spiral to the anniversary was a lot of tiny things over the year, some of which I previously covered, which of course led to the disaster that was the anniversary. A lot of Genshin's fan base were made up of other gacha gamers who understood that anniversaries for gachas are a huge event. People were expecting huge thank yous and gifts, like big primos. Some leaks were saying that we were actually going to get a chance to pick a standard 5-star character or weapon. And then some of the doubts started to trickle in when Hoyo announced some fun competitions out of game to earn primo rewards. These competitions included cosplay, art contests, etc. The highest of these prizes that you could win if you were to get chosen out of the thousands of submissions was about 6k primos, which is like a few 10 pulls, but nothing to guarantee a 5-star. And considering how many hours and money that people would have to go in and use to create these creations for even like a chance of getting picked, it was hardly worth the rewards. Plus, Hoyo earned the full rights to anything that you submit. This was the first tip-off to tell everybody that maybe Hoyoverse wasn't the most willing to give out big gifts. A lot of players at this time purposely submitted really crappy stuff to flood the submissions and to point out the ludicrousness of it all. And then the anniversary game rewards came in. Tremera described the primo amount was equivalent to the rewards you get for one daily quest and then 40 primos. What? I wasn't there, obviously. When I read this, I was so shocked. Like, I knew that the rewards weren't that big, but this is really, literally nothing. This is literally nothing. Then came the rage. Review bombing. People knew Hoyo wasn't going to do anything until they made their voices heard. So people took to the App Store and the Google Play Store and started bombing 1-star reviews. Apparently, the Google Play rating that was previously at 4.5 dropped all the way to 1.8. The bombing was merciless, with other games like Honkai feeling the wrath as well. It kind of turned to a meme at some point where players from other games that also got like rewards would instead go and review bomb Genshin for the rewards that they didn't get in their game. Like, it was kind of funny. Hoyo acted quickly by sending everyone real anniversary rewards in their game inboxes, which included 1,200 primos and some teapot furniture and special wings. The reviews are better now, of course, but oh my god, was that a time to be a Genshin Impact player. My friend, who's actually a 1.0 player and actually witnessed this event, stated how the real problem amongst all of this was honestly the silence from Hoyoverse. My friend also pointed out that it sucked that you would get more rewards for when Hoyoverse actually won like game awards, like it was some like hamster science experiment thing. So that, of course, was very disappointing. And so for our final drag and drop, we are dragging and dropping this into taking accountability. It'd also be funny if you put this in silly goofy mood, because Hoyoverse, what were you thinking? But also this was kind of a big deal, so taking accountability. So this is gonna be our final tier list. I know I wrote this whole script, but I didn't realize how many were in MHA fandom. Like, you guys are just silly, I guess. You guys are just so silly. I really hope you enjoyed. I had a lot of fun writing, researching, and making it, so I hope you liked it too. And again, let me know any of your thoughts or opinions that you had about any of the subjects that we covered today. Again, keep them respectful, keep them courteous. Also, comment any controversies that I may have missed that might hypothetically make up a part 2, which I would love to make. So if you are interested in a part 2 and or a queer deep dive into the queer subtext of Genshin, make sure to like the video. And also, hey, hit the subscribe button too, so I can make myself more known on your recommended page, and so we can feed the very hungry algorithm. Derogatory. Thank you. It means a lot, actually. It really does. So please, if you can, that'd be really helpful. Thank you. Also, I want to give a huge thank you to these gorgeous people that you see here on screen. I asked my community tab for some controversy recommendations, and these people really turned out. So thank you. Also, a huge thank you to my friends, the Stone Pilots, Sage Eternal, and Ramian for proofreading this whole essay, Strongest Soldiers for Real, so that I could actually seem like I'm making sense. Thank you guys so much for doing that. If you want to hang out more, then please join us over on twitch.tv/eissocial. We are live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday at 7 p.m. EST. We have a lot of fun there. Sometimes we film tier lists live, and other times we're just having a silly goofy time, disrespectfully. So please make sure to give us a follow over there. I had so much fun researching this video and filming this video, and of course I'm gonna have fun editing it too, and I would love to do other videos like this in the future, video essay-esque kind of videos, so please let me know if you are interested in them. If you made it to the end, comment Alhaitham's gay ass in the comments, because that is so funny. Thank you so much for watching. It means so much. If I don't see you on Twitch, then I guess I'll see you in the next one, yeah? Okay. Bye!